Should Real Madrid move for Jamal Musiala? Okay, so recently Fabrizio Romano made a comment giving an update about the situation surrounding Jamal Musiala's contract situation at Bayern Munich. Currently, his contract runs until 26 or 27. So, obviously, with that approaching, Bayern Munich are really working hard behind the scenes to try and get him that contract renewal. Now, by all accounts, they're pushing really, really hard with this one because they want to build the team around him. They see him as the future of German football. And if you did watch Germany at the Euros, they really do seem like they've turned a corner. They've got a couple of really exciting talent. For example, the likes of Florian Wirtz that we discussed recently and Jamal Musiala. This guy is incredible. Now, he grew up in the same England setup as a certain Jude Bellingham, so they know each other really, really well. And this guy has got an incredible dribbling ability. If you've seen him, it's like the ball is glued to his foot. He ties defenders in knots time and time again. And yet, you'd expect his position to be the tricky winger that dances around defences. And at times he is, don't get me wrong, but he's predominantly deployed in attacking midfield. Where have we seen this before? We've seen it with Jude Bellingham, and we've seen it with the guy we recently discussed, Florian Wirtz. Now, here's the thing. When Fabrizio Romano was talking about this situation, he was very, very careful to say that Bayern Munich are pulling out all the stops. They really want to get this done, and they don't want to lose him the same way that they're losing players such as Alphonso Davies when they come towards the end of their contracts. So they are prepared to push hard. However, Fabrizio Romano has said that should things not go the way that they are anticipating, the likes of Real Madrid, the likes of Manchester City, would be around to take advantage of the situation. And that makes a lot of sense. At the end of the day, City and Madrid are the two biggest teams in world football right now, and they have to be alert to the possibility of the world's best players becoming available. And Jamal Musiala fits the bill. He is a player that you can't afford not to be interested in, because at the end of the day, if the opportunity presents itself to acquire a player of that talent on a free, admittedly, you do have to pay a fee up front to try and attract the player. We know how the game works. It's the same with Alaba, the same with Rudiger. There's always cash behind the scenes to make it happen. You've got to convince them at the end of the day. But for the most part, not having to pay that transfer fee is absolutely massive. So, does he fit into the system? Now, we say attacking midfield, but from what I saw of Bayern Munich last season, he pushed incredibly high up the field, almost operating as a second striker, if you want to go back to the days of PES, SS, right up alongside Harry Kane. And that's why, if you have a look at his goals and the positions that he's taking up, he is very, very far forward. Now, this is something similar to the role that Jude Bellingham played at Real Madrid last season, where he had to push up to help out in the attack because we were light, because we switched to the diamond formation. Is there room at Real Madrid for essentially two players that do the same thing? Possibly. We talked about this yesterday, and we talked about Florian Wirtz, and we talked about how we could integrate him alongside Jude Bellingham. But you do have to bear something in mind. Sometimes it doesn't always work. Sometimes players occupy the same spaces. And we can look at recent examples that illustrate this. For example, when England were playing at the Euros, and even slightly before, in the preparation games, Gareth Southgate had a bit of a problem. He was trying to shoehorn the likes of Jude Bellingham, the likes of Phil Foden, and even before then, he had two others. He had Jack Grealish and James Maddison. Now, because of the season that James Maddison had for Tottenham, England fans were desperate to see him in that starting 11. So much creativity, but you had Jude Bellingham. And Jude Bellingham was playing an absolute blinder for Real Madrid. How can you drop him? So he tried to integrate them both. Played a couple of games in this way, and every England fan came to the same conclusion. I can't unfairly generalise. A lot of England fans came to the same conclusion. It didn't work. Why? Because they were chasing the same ball. They were chasing the same areas, occupying the same spaces. They wanted to be in the same part of the pitch. they wanted to react in the same way because they both shared that instinct to be close to goal, to have that first opportunity, to play the ball quickly in a cane, to create an attacking transition. And it didn't work. So it doesn't always work. But on the other hand, these are two players that have played together previously. They know each other. And that can be a big help, especially in terms of chemistry. And who's to say that Carlo Ancelotti couldn't integrate the pair of them into the starting 11 at Real Madrid? It's one that's worth considering, particularly if you're Real Madrid and you've got your big high ups at the club talking to Jamal Musiala and you're getting positive signs that the player wants to join. If that is the case, you have to be there at the table ready to negotiate. You have to express your interest because you cannot let the world's best players go to your biggest rivals. And that would be frightening. You take Jamal Musiala and you take him to City, that's an incredible proposition. That attack would be fearsome. So, here's my point of view. If we're approaching this from a transfer point of view, then I'm a little bit reluctant. You know that we've talked about this before, and I feel that other areas require a little bit more attention. Okay. Further to that, if you really want to drill down and you want to ask the question, well, why Wirtz and not Musiala? What's the difference? They operate in the same sort of area. Yeah, true. But I feel like they've got slightly different skill set. And I feel like that was evident watching Germany. Yes, they occupy similar areas on the pitch. True. But you would argue also that Musiala is at times a little bit hit and miss. And this is something that the Bayern fans have come to live with. He's a player with colossal talent, but he doesn't always express it. Look at last season, for example. Admittedly, Bayern Munich had quite a withdrawn, fractured season under Thomas Tuchel. He only managed 12 goals. Now, you could say that Harry Kane made up for that, and he did. Of course he did. But 12 goals doesn't feel like a lot for a player that operates so far forward. Whereas you've got Florian Wirtz averaging 20 goals and 20 assists. There is a bit of a difference there. And yes, statistics isn't everything. The eye test is really important as well. But you do have to bear it in mind. But what do you think? Maybe you've seen him play. Maybe you think that this is an opportunity that we can't afford to miss out on. Maybe you think that it's even worth bringing him in sooner. Maybe you see an alternative in the team. Personally, I feel like the obvious scenario that people will come to is, oh, he's the Rodrigo replacement. He's slightly more effective from wide positions. Okay, fine. He is effective from wide positions. How often does he do it from the right side? Next to never. Look at how many times he lined up on that side of the pitch for Bayern last season. Twice, if memory serves. The majority being in attacking midfield and a few times on the left-hand side. He's right-footed. He wants to chop in, exactly like the majority of wide players in the world. That's a real topic for conversation, actually. The sheer lack of right-sided players, right-sided left-footed players who chop in on that side and are comfortable doing it. Because if you think about it, besides the likes of Salah and Bukayo Saka at Arsenal, who really is dedicated in that position that can supply that sort of ammunition? A naturally gifted footballer who wants to be there, who doesn't just move over to the left-hand side at every opportunity. Maybe we would have got this had we tried harder a little bit more. Maybe Carlo still will try that experiment, who knows? But I don't think that Musiala is the answer. I don't think that exchanging Rodrigo for Musiala improves the 4-3-3 that Carlo likes to play so much. Because I feel like you're replacing like for like, a player that doesn't truly want to play there. And let's be honest, Rodrigo's numbers, although not earth-shattering, were still better than Musiala's, occupying a position that he doesn't want to play in. Anyway, it's an interesting topic for discussion. Let me know what your thoughts are. And if you did enjoy this content, please consider subscribing to the channel. Take care.